Paul, this is really something because
this is amazing.
We have Chris Jericho, the wrestler, in the studio, and he's from my hometown of Winnipeg, Canada. And Chris, first off, welcome to the studio. This has been a long time coming.
A long time coming. Let me say this. I used to listen to you in the 80s, man.
Yes, in Winnipeg.
92 City FM, Lamont, Hollywood.
Crazy.
And we were just touching on our background. And our background, we have a similar background because you went to Red River Community College where I went right out of high school. You know how I picked my college?
Oh.
I was playing hockey, and there were 4 guys on my team that were going to Red River, and there were 2 guys going to the University of Manitoba. And I thought, well, if I go with the guys from Red River, carpools will be a lot more fun, and beer bashes. That's how I picked my college.
You know, it's great, too. Like, when I came in here and I was talking to you at first, you don't have an accent at all. I don't have. As soon as Winnipeggers start talking, we start talking Winnipeg, man.
Yes, exactly.
Let's have some beers, man. This is awesome.
So we touched on something here. When we were going to college, you worked at the same college radio station I worked at.
The Cave,
CMOR.
I was California Chris. That was my
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Oh, we're going to hire you here at the Bone.
And the thing is, I worked under like 14 different names because I figured out that you went for 2 hours straight and they were knocking at the door trying to get you out.
I barricaded myself in the station, played nonstop Kiss for 2 hours, and the program director was like, "You gotta stop." I'm like, "No, more Kiss."
And
but
you see,
signed up under different names.
Under different names,
anybody could have a show.
Right? Anyone can have a show, but you were only allowed 1 hour. So he locked himself in there for 2 hours. Then they kicked him out. What I did is 1 hour I would sign up under Craven Moorhead, and then I would go under Lamont, and then I'd go under this name and that name. Exactly. But every second hour, so I would see a different person, and then I would come in again. So I had like a whole bunch of different names on there. I spent so much time at that student radio station, I had to quit school.
But look where you are now.
Yes, exactly.
The thing about Red River Community College, it's now Red River College, is that so I was 17 when I graduated from high school, and you had to be 18 to go to wrestling school. So I needed to basically kill time for 2 years.
Really?
So I took creative communications, which was advertising, PR, journalism, radio, television.
That's what I took.
All the stuff that we're doing today.
Yes, exactly.
Red River was a great school, and I was wondering what the hell we're talking about, but it really helped me doing what I'm doing today.
And great beer bashes.
Great beer bashes.
Yes.
I saw the Tragically Hip before they were signed. I worked the beer bash as a security guard.
Really?
Gord Downey, who's a Canadian legend. No one knows the Hip here in San Francisco. Gave me a beer. He was probably 20 and I was 18. I was like, yeah, I guess. Let's have a beer, man. So, great times. And here we are 30 years later.
Right.
Much success for Lamont Hollywood. I remember when you left Winnipeg to go to San Francisco, and people listening right now that don't know the history of Lamont Hollywood, he was huge in Winnipeg. And when you left, it was a big thing. Oh, no, Lamont Hollywood's leaving.
It was front page news. Quite now, and here you are. Like, and I want to get a plug in because you've got wrestling at the Cow Palace.
Cow Palace on Friday and the Chase Center on Sunday. We're here for all. We had a show last night, a show on Friday, and a show on Sunday, all week in San Francisco.
I'm glad you brought that up because Baby Huey is so happy.
Huey, what a guy.
Yeah, what a guy. What a stalker.
He's almost 40. He looks like he's 18 still.
So true.
But here's the deal. He said that you were on stage and you pointed a bat at him. And I go, Huey, he didn't even know you were there. He was pointing to the crowd.
See, but once again, talking about Kiss, that's a Kiss model.
Yes.
You point into the crowd.
Right. Yes.
Gene and Paul do it all the time. Yeah. 18 people think you're pointing at them.
Told you, Baby Huey.
I do it every night. I point to nothing. And 30 people go, he was pointing right at me.
Yes.
That's a trick.
Exactly.
That's a show business trick.
Hey, so now let me ask you this with wrestling. Because a lot of people go, oh, wrestling, and you got the script for this and that. Who is the scariest guy that you've actually wrestled? I mean, that people were getting hurt wrestling this guy.
Well, no one gets hurt in wrestling because we're all professionals, right?
Okay.
So you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
And, it makes me laugh when people think script. There's no script.
Okay.
It's like being like an improv comic or playing in a jazz band. You follow each other.
Okay.
Oh, he's going on a solo. Let me follow this or whatever. So you don't get hurt at a certain level because we're all pros.
Yeah.
Back when I first started and I went to Japan for the first time, I fought a kickboxer named, I remember his name. His name was Wada. He was a kickboxing champion. He wore kickboxing shorts in the ring. He had no front teeth, and he was kicking the crap out of me. He was not playing along. And I didn't know what to do. I was 20 years old.
Right.
So he was beating me up so bad. I just went to the floor, I grabbed a chair, and I hit him in the head as hard as I could.
Oh, my God. I would have paid to see that.
It was like Mongo from Blazing Saddles. Why'd you do that? And then he stopped beating me up so bad. So that someone is getting to you really bad, you just got to hit him with a chair.
Grab a chair.
Yeah. So there is elements of that. But now we're at the highest of levels.
Yeah.
Big time show business.
They're pros.
We're pros. We're working together to put on the best show possible.
When you grew up and you knew you wanted to be a wrestler right out of high school.
Right.
Who did you follow as a wrestler?
So in Winnipeg, so you know this, dude. So we grew up in a it's a fairly small town. It's a prairie town called Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's a huge wrestling town. It's a huge rock and roll town.
Huge wrestling town and rock and roll.
And rock and roll. Yeah. When we grew up, like Aussie, to this day, like I remember people, and Winnipeg was an Aussie town. Like everyone loved Aussie. Mm-hmm. I don't think he even came to play there.
No.
Just people loved Aussie.
They love Aussie.
They loved wrestling. So when I grew up, that was my thing. I wanted to be in a band and I wanted to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
I loved Hulk Hogan at the time.
Right.
He was a huge, and in Winnipeg, like everybody went nuts for Hulk Hogan.
Yes.
So it's so funny. I went to see Rod Stewart a couple nights ago in Tampa, and I'm watching the show, and it was really cool. And some guy's tapping me on the shoulder, and I'm like, I'm trying to watch Rod Stewart, man. I look over, it's Hulk Hogan. He's like, hey, man,
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk's coming to say hi to me now.
Really?
But once again, now we're like, we're friends.
They say, hey, brother.
But hey, brother. But I remember waiting at the Polo Park Inn in Winnipeg, Manitoba, for the wrestlers to come after the show in -30 in February. And I remember meeting Hulk Hogan and shaking his hand at like 15 years old. And it's always cool when you grow up and actually become friends with these guys.
Was he wearing his bandana when he came?
Of course he was wearing a bandana. It's not a gimmick, man. It's his real thing.
We used to go to wrestling all the time because in my high school, the Winnipeg Arena, my high school, I went to school with Tanis Tomko, whose father was the promoter. Was Al Tomko.
Remember his son was the Frog?
Yes, the Frog. But my favorite was Mad Dog Vachon and Baron von Raschke. And they used to do the death grip.
The claw.
The claw, yes.
So we had a pay-per-view in Minnesota last year, and we did this big 10-man giant street fight with Dan Lambert's guys. And I invited Baron von Raschke to come to the show. It's
the greatest.
He's 80 now. He's walking with the cane, and we kind of got him involved in the match.
Yeah.
He was with his daughter, though. He would not talk about what we wanted him to do in the match in front of his daughter.
Really?
Because she told me, like, he still won't admit that it's a show.
Oh, wow.
He's
really? All this time.
She's like, I'm like 40 years old.
Yeah.
I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I know it's a show. He will never admit it. So he was still like, when I put the claw on, you better watch out because it's going to hurt. He's like, it's not really going to hurt. I'm just saying in front of my daughter. She doesn't know. She's like, I know. I know.
That's
but the old school brothers don't talk about that.
No, they don't at all.
Still, and that's how it was back in those days.
Right.
In wrestling, it's called kayfabe. Super kayfabe. You do not talk about the business. You do not talk about Fight Club. Fight Club doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's real. So for him to be there, it's like, I was just so excited with Baron von Raschke. I got him a payday. I invited him to the show because once again, when you grow up as a fan and you get a chance to become friends or work with these guys as an adult, it just makes everything so much more special.
Chris Jericho, part of the Winnipeg Mafia, is in the studio. We're going to talk. Man. I want to talk more about your wrestling coming up here.
AEW, Friday night at the Cow Palace, Sunday at the Chase Center.
Got a lot of questions for you coming up after this. Absolutely.
I got a lot of answers.
We have Chris Jericho in the studio. So, Chris, I've got to ask you, AEW, All Elite Wrestling, this was a big move, and you started this, right?
Well, I didn't start it, but I've been here since day one because when you're in wrestling, and I've been in wrestling for 32 years, you hear this all the time. Oh, there's a new company starting.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's usually BS. Not going to work.
Right.
So AEW came about because my boss, Tony Khan, his dad is Shad Khan, who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars. They own a soccer team in England.
He's pissing money.
They're billionaires.
Yeah.
Shad invented bumpers.
What?
For cars. Remember old school bumpers?
Yes.
There'd be like a little thing that stuck out.
Yeah.
And now bumpers are part of the back of the car.
Yeah.
Shaw invented that.
Oh, my God.
That's a good
Every
move.
car has a bumper that my boss invented.
Right.
So when the talks started coming up about this new company, what do you need to start a wrestling company? You need a lot of money.
Yep.
You need a television deal, and you need a roster of fresh talent.
Right.
So we had all three of those because the roster I talked about working in Japan. There was a bunch of guys from North America at the time who did not want to go to WWE, and they were making the name for themselves around the world. They're all in their prime. They're all American, Canadian. And so we had a new roster of fresh people. We had money, we had passion, and we got a television deal.
Yeah.
And we got the television deal basically because Chris Jericho was involved as the national name that everybody knew. I was the only guy at the time.
Right.
That everybody knew that gave it legitimacy. So that's kind of how it all started. So, yeah. So
that was a ballsy move on your part because most of the guys were getting rich on WWE at the time,
and
right?
I could have stayed in WWE, but I wasn't really, not that I had an issue, but it was just kind of I was just there.
Yeah.
And I thought if I take a chance and go with AEW and it becomes a thing, I've now put another feather in the legacy of Chris Jericho.
Right.
And I know that I can do more in the business.
Yeah.
And it's been a great 3.5 year run for me. And we got really big really quickly. And then right when we started, worldwide pandemic lockdown.
Yes.
So we were wrestling for about 8 months in front of no people.
Right.
At an amphitheater in Jacksonville, literally just wrestling.
But you were on TV.
We were on TV, but it's like a stand-up comedian telling jokes in front of a wall.
Empty room.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Is this good? Is this bad? Because wrestling is very much contingent on the fans.
You feed off the energy, right?
If you and I are working and people cheer, let's do more of that.
Yeah.
If they're not cheering, we better change it. We had none of that.
Right.
And I was like, am I still even popular? Like, what's going to happen when people come back? And when they came back, then we got our groove, and Stella got the groove back, and it worked out great. But yeah, so we had a lot of obstacles from the start. But here we are now, 3.5 years later, doing great business, still growing, and we really have kind of locked into what we're doing.
So AEW Dynamite is on TV every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday on TBS.
On TBS. And then AEW Rampage is every Friday on TNT.
On TNT, yeah. We've got a great relationship with Warner Discovery. So our show tomorrow night in San Francisco is live, like you said, on TNT. So we've got 2 shows a week. We've got a huge pay-per-view on Sunday at the Chase Center.
Yeah.
So like I said, we're here all week, man. Tip your waiters and waitresses, try the veal. But we're excited. This is the first time we've ever been in the Bay Area. In the Bay Area market, which of course is rich in wrestling history. We're talking about the Cow Palace.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
It's one of the most famous wrestling buildings. I don't know if anybody even goes there anymore, but we had two great shows there, and then wrapping up at the Chase Center on Sunday.
Okay, so AEW TIX.com for tickets to these matches.
Down.
Absolutely, yeah. Come on down and have a good time.
Kern Hill Furniture, come on down.
Oh, Nick Hill.
Nick Hill.
So let me ask you this. Growing up, now you said you wanted to be a wrestler. Your dad was a professional hockey player.
Yeah. My dad played in the NHL for 10 years.
Did you want to play hockey at all? Because that's the natural thing growing up in Canada.
And also, in Winnipeg, everyone plays hockey.
Right.
But I just wasn't very good. You know why?
Why?
Because all I wanted to do was go to band practice for my band, and I watched wrestling.
Right.
I liked hockey, but I talk to my dad now, and it's just like, yeah, you just weren't very good, son. It wasn't. But the worst part is, Teddy Irvin's kid, Ted Irvin, NHL.
He must be good.
Watch Chris. It was like, wow, he sucks. I just wasn't good. I played, and you know this, in Winnipeg, there's 4 tiers.
Yes.
Tier 1, which is the great guys.
Right.
Tier 2 was a little bit.
I was tier 2.
You're tier 2?
Yeah.
I was tier 3. I wasn't tier 4, which was the nerds.
Guys who could barely skate. Yeah.
I was tier 3, which is just a little bit higher up from that. I couldn't even crack the tier 2. I tried out for tier 2. They wouldn't give me the time of day.
Right.
So I knew pretty early on hockey wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Right. But still, the good part of it was when I told my dad I wanted to go into wrestling.
Yeah.
He understood the concept of following your dreams at a young age.
Exactly.
Because he got drafted by the Boston Bruins at 17 years old. They pulled him out of high school and said, hey, Harry Sinden's on the phone. They want you in Boston on Saturday.
Yeah.
So he understood when I told him I want to be a wrestler, the concept of, okay, He's a teenager, he's a kid, but he's following his dream. So my dad was always super supportive of this, especially in 1990.
Yeah.
When you said you wanted to be a wrestler, you might as well say that you wanted to be a mime in the circus or a sword swallower. Like,
right.
no, wrestling. What are you talking about?
Exactly.
But he was always behind that and supportive of me, so it really made a difference and helped out a lot.
Well, I'll tell you, you are welcome in our studios anytime.
I love this, man.
Seriously.
Winnipeg Mafia.
Anytime. Winnipeg Mafia rules. Baby Huey, remember that. Okay?
Show some respect to the legendary Lamont Hollywood.
Thank you. You don't show me enough respect,
Damn
Baby
it.
Huey. Cow Palace this Friday. Chase Center this Sunday. It's a pleasure meeting you.
My pleasure, man. Thank you so much. All right. It's an honor.